for a run today, but it looks like it could rain.
Save on epic rain jackets.
Let me see how pretty you look.
Great.
Turn around.
Hey guys, Ron here, and for almost 2 years now,
Okay,
I've been making
Jack,
videos
your
where I
turn.
turn video game characters into Pokemon. Eventually I turned anime protagonists into Pokemon. Recently I've been turning memes into Pokemon. So why in the world did it take me this long to finally turn regular old cartoon characters into Pokemon? Some of your favorite Western animation mascots are actually perfect as inspirations for this series. After all, my love of animation is the reason I'm even an artist. Considering animation was my career choice before my channel became an option, this kind of video would be a perfect combination of my absolute favorite interests. So please, if you enjoyed this video and want it to become a series, leave a like and subscribe, because this is genuinely what I was born to do. Western animation doesn't need any introduction. But let me introduce you to Whatnot. Whatnot is an app where streamers host live auctions selling electronics, sneakers, plushes, comics,
Wait, I'm gonna
cards,
put
and
this in
more.
the dryer.
Kind of like eBay, but you get to see what you're purchasing from an
I'm gonna put the
entertaining
clothes in
live
the
stream the
dryer,
seller hosts.
okay?
At any time, you can log on to Whatnot and watch some streams where verified sellers are showcasing merch for you to cop, like manga, cartoon memorabilia, figures, and of course, since Pokemon is literally the highest grossing media franchise of all time, plenty of Pokemon merch. It's a great way to auction off your art, posters, or Pokemon cards. In fact, I'll be going live on Whatnot on Saturday, August 19th at 2 p.m. Eastern to directly auction off a ton of pristine Pokemon cards and merch. Not only will you be able to participate in some free giveaways of items like these stellar character posters and iconic figures, but I'm also giving each and every one of you $10 in credit to spend on anything you like. You can use the free $10 in my stream or in the thousands of other streams going on 24/7. Just go to the description or pinned comment to use my special link to sign up and bookmark my show before the stream. Make sure to mark your calendars now and follow me on Twitter just in case in order to know when we're live. Hey, I'll even sign some stuff if you want, as long as I see you there. So thank you Whatnot for this brilliant opportunity and sponsorship. So let's begin by looking at the biggest modern cartoon mascot of them all, SpongeBob. Nickelodeon's bread and butter, and probably the single television show with the most memes. Like, I quote SpongeBob more than literally anything. I don't know if that's just the thing that people my age do. Let me know if you're, like, younger than 20 and you do that. Because I constantly quote SpongeBob. But the question is, how do we turn SpongeBob into a fake one? Are we going to base it on a kitchen sponge, since that's where SpongeBob gets his square pants from? Or more of a natural sea sponge, which is what he literally is, considering his parents look like living sponges. It'll be a cross of both, I think. The real problem is that SpongeBob is extremely cartoony, though, and my job is to make it way less Western. That's the problem we'll have with all the Pokemon in this video. When I was making my anime-based fake Mon, I took Japanese designs and turned them into Japanese monsters that already fit into the anime art style, while cartoon characters like SpongeBob have features that rarely exist in Pokemon, like overlapping eyes, not to mention buck teeth. But we won't get closer to figuring out the solution by just standing here, so let's begin. I'm making a relatively natural-looking sponge that I'm slowly shaping into something relatively square-shaped, at the top at least. The sponge is sprouting from a rock on the bottom that I will make look like SpongeBob's clothes. Instead of a thin, noodly limbs, it'll have short rock nubs that he uses to get around. The hard part will be translating the extremely cartoony and Western eyes of SpongeBob into Pokemon's more anime art style. What's even harder is the fact that I don't think a sponge would have uniform round eyes like this in the Pokemon world, but we'll refine it as we go. I gave it a piece of seaweed on its front to resemble SpongeBob's tie, and some rocky patterns that resemble his belt and shirt. Once I added his pores, I very much decided it makes no sense for his eyes to be that round and symmetrical. So I made them the same random shapes as the pores, with a more appropriate and goofy mouth. Its teeth are actually two pieces of rocks. Pebbles, I guess. Before it looked cute, now it actually has a similar energy to SpongeBob. Just refining it a bit and giving it more dimension before adding SpongeBob's colors. What an inviting and familiar color palette. Anybody would recognize it. Are you ready for Spongeoid, the porous Pokemon, a water rock type. These extremely friendly Pokemon find shelter within drowned tropical fruit under the sea. They are constantly eager and positive. They slowly walk their way up to the beach to greet other Pokemon while laughing. Spongeoid can instantly absorb any liquid that it comes in contact with. When playing, it will gently release bubbles from its pores. In battle, it releases a constant jet of pressurized water. Spongeoid's soft face can take a beating. It bounces back from a hit in an instant. Spongeoid shrivel up and become brittle when the sun is unobscured. They look for shade at noon. When Spongeoid run out of water, it makes its way back to the sea. Spongeoy sees the good in everyone. They're often too naive for their own good, though. They have the abilities Water Absorb, Regenerator, and Unaware. Their shiny is a reference to Patrick. I thought it would be tough to design a Pokemon like this. While the face was difficult to get somewhat right, the shape wasn't a problem at all. It definitely has the aura of SpongeBob. Next is the most recognizable cartoon character of all time, Mickey Mouse. While people know of Mickey, he's not the most beloved cartoon mascot. He's kind of like Superman. Everybody knows Superman, but he isn't the most popular superhero in modern times, at least. So let's give Mickey a slight boost in appeal by making him a Pokemon. Now, the first style of animation in America was rubber hose, where the limbs of the animated characters would move in a curve, all floppy and stretchy like a rubber hose. Disney employed this style as well, so why not make a bendy and stretchy little mouse? How does he stretch? His body will have the properties of ink. Just a nimble little rodent that is constantly fluid. It'll bring back the charm of 1920s animation where every character was in a constant state of flux. I'm starting with circles and some more circles. Instead of arms, the dude will have long ink legs that he stretches. Now, I don't want to give it Mickey's literal snout. It will already look enough like Mickey once the ears are added, so a short button nose is fine, with the iconic eyes, an ink tail that looks kind of like a brush, and the most recognizable ears in history. Keep in mind that they are actually going to be spherical and not flat, since they are droplets of ink, big orbs that bounce around as he walks. This also makes it so that this Pokemon has the famous illusion where Mickey's ears are in the same configuration no matter the angle. Cute smile and a more refined body. It's not fully black and white. It'll have the golden age face with the modern color schemes. Here is Mouseblotch, the ink Pokemon, a poison normal type. Mouseblotch run around leaving a trail of ink footprints. They are able to extend their tail and legs to triple their usual length, allowing them to jump high, run fast, and grab objects. Their body has the properties of a liquid. Mouseblotch is able to fit into cracks the size of their tiny eye. They can redirect attacks with their fluid body. They are nigh impossible to grab because they slip through fingers with ease. This cheery Pokemon likes to entertain. It dances and creates art. When its efforts aren't rewarded, they steal a possession or two. Mouseblotch attacks by shooting inks from its ears. To finish off a foe, it will kick with enough force to launch a blinding streak of ink. This messy Pokemon is a nuisance to find in your home. They generally avoid water and has the abilities Liquid Ooze, Pickpocket, and Contrary. Its shiny is self-evident. This is incredibly cute. It's technically not the first Disney mouse I made on this channel. A while back I turned Sora from Kingdom Hearts into a mouse with a key inspired by Mickey Mouse, so I wanted to make sure to not insert any Kingdom Hearts references into this design. It's a very delightful guy. Now it's time for the protagonist of not only my favorite animated series of all time, but my favorite show ever. Aang, the Avatar, and The Last Airbender. As an airbending master, our Fakemon will also be able to control the wind. As a monk, he'll be very free-spirited and carefree. And as a Pokemon based on the Avatar, he'll probably be able to access tons of ground, rock, water, ice, fire, definitely fire, electric and flying type moves. I mean, we could technically throw in other types like grass into there, but that's not necessary. Since the Avatar is both the bridge between the human and spirit worlds, but also technically a reincarnation of the light spirit Rava, I originally thought the ghost type would translate well, but making our Pokemon a fairy type seems more appropriate to represent the Avatar powers. I'm gonna make a flying fairy mythical Pokemon that heavily translates Aang's appearance. The face for now is of a bald little man with a pattern that resembles an arrow. Keep in mind, it's not a literal arrow tattoo. I want this thing to look more special than the average Pokemon at least, so these Mew-like evolution eyes will do the job. I want to give the impression that this guy is light as a feather with his pose, although that'll change by the end. I'm giving him Aang's air nomad drip, but changed up the pose so he looks more like a fairy. Just your average twinkle toes. Throughout the design process, I'm trying to give this dude ears so it doesn't just look like a literal human monk. It's giving Krillin right now, when I really wanted to try to give him some flying lemur attributes, but Momo ears would ruin the bald silhouette. Originally I gave him this halo-like antenna, and that also looks like a swirling wind, and I do want to add spiral motifs throughout. Kind of overdid it though. The final design will have a bit less spirals. After refining it, I thought the shape of it. That's when I added these ears and finally decided to make it a monkey with a swirling tail. This also allowed me to add an appropriate amount of cream color when I was adding Aang's color palette. The colors actually fit beautifully. Check out Monkair, the carefree Pokemon. Monkair has been discovered after disappearing for 100 years. They are kind, caring, and love to play. They can control wind, allowing them to create balls of air that they ride around on. They can ascend into the sky using a blast of wind and glide down with their loose cape. They create tornadoes by twirling their tails. Monkair is light on his feet. In battle, it avoids its opponent's every hit. It does not like to strike back. but when its HP goes down to half, its ability, Spirit State, will activate. Now its inner spirit fights, unleashing this Pokemon's true potential. In its Spirit State, the power of water, ice, ground, rock, fire, electric, flying, and fairy moves are doubled. It's a master of the elements. It communes with the spirits and is feared by humans. Monk Air does not enjoy the immense amount of power it possesses. It simply wants to live a life of fun. Monk Air Shiny is reference to Season 3's headband and Aang with his Kuzan drip. The name ended up being perfect for this Pokemon. I can't believe I never associated the fact that Aang is a monk, and that kind of sounds like monkey, but also the fact that lemurs and monkeys are both primates. So in the end, I did end up with my idea to combine Aang with Momo. I love the colors and patterns on this mod too. And finally, what would a video about cartoons be without some Looney Tunes representation? Bugs Bunny, the wise rabbit that messes with those who dare mess with him. Okay, that sounds a bit ominous. The point is, the dude isn't really a prankster. He just wants to live